In the wrestling world, the people are represented by two separate but unequally important groups. The wrestlers and bookers, who literally do all the hard work, and the fans, who endlessly nitpick and overanalyze everything they do. These are their stories. Welcome to Raw and Order, the wrestling booking unit, the only wrestling podcast on the planet that nitpicks everything that happens in the wrestling world, but in a nice way, most of the time.
I'm gonna say that we're not the only ones to do that.
Sure, most of the other places get a little mean. We try to keep it nice. I don't know.
Define nice before I get too in depth here, because
I don't think.
Coming.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever said it's stupid, or I guess I did say they should feel bad about the Bobby Lashley Lana thing. So I don't know. That's what I said most of the time.
It's a bad storyline because it's a bad thing to do.
Most of the time. Anyways, I am Officer Mark Smart, and I'm joined by my partner in crime, fighting District Attorney Vincent K. Fabe. What's going on, man? How are you?
Oh, I'm your Conrad impersonation's getting pretty good.
Yeah. Funny, I haven't had a chance to even listen to Conrad in the last week, so I'm behind.
Isn't it the worst when you don't have time?
Yeah.
There's been so much wrestling that there's not time for wrestling. Isn't that wonderful and terrible at the same time?
It's a great problem to have, I guess. But anyways, so just to introduce people to the concept, if you haven't listened before, every episode we go over the air quotes crimes in professional wrestling over the last week or sometimes the last 40 years. We try to keep it lighthearted and mostly positive, hence the intro, because there's already a lot of negativity in the wrestling world, and we would rather highlight the good stuff most of the time than nitpick over the bad stuff. But this episode's going to be a little bit different because we've got NXT TakeOver and Survivor Series this weekend. So we're going to do predictions for those instead of a couple crimes at the end. But cool. But at that point, I think we just kind of get straight into it. I think DA Fabe went first last week, so it's my turn this week for crime number 1.
Crime number 1.
WWE is being charged with pulling out all the stops with the invasion of NXT and finally beating AEW in the race. Just not in the key demos that they're hoping.
Yeah, good job to them to get 80-year-olds to tune in.
Yeah, and that's the deal. Is like, in the end, here's the deal. We're applauding them because they did finally beat AEW in the ratings, and that's a big deal for NXT to finally pull ahead in the ratings. I don't think it's gonna last. NXT was by far the better show this week overall, but it was the better show due to storylines and stuff that they won't have next week, you know?
Yeah. Here's the deal. At the end of the day, at some point, Chris Jericho is going to have to not be able to drink a little bit of the bubbly after a match because he's going to lose the title. Mm-hmm. And then it's really going to elevate several of the other people that we've been so desiring to see in AEW. And I don't fault them for still having the title on Jericho. I really don't.
No, you and I both said when they put the title on Jericho, he should have a fairly long run. Not necessarily CM Punk long, but months.
But better. but yeah, anything would be better than he shouldn't have a Mankind or Mick Foley run. That's too short.
But so in the end, and I do also want to point out that even though I agree NXT was the better show top to bottom, AEW had some phenomenal matches. AEW had some great segments. I was really impressed with the Britt Baker Hikaru Shida match. That was one that they pulled out, and I'm really excited for Hikaru Shida. I hope they treat her well. I think she's phenomenal in the ring. And Britt Baker actually performed at a higher level than she has recently in that match. And so I did like that. But in the end, the matches that they put on NXT overall and the storylines they put on were a better show. But
even though I really want to say the overarching storyline is undeveloped every year, and we talked about that a little bit. So,
and that's my point is next week when they no longer have the Survivor Series invasion storyline going on, because they're just gonna forget about it next week. It's not something that continues after Survivor Series. It doesn't matter who wins Survivor Series. We're not going to hear anything about it again for about 11 months.
Correct.
And then they're going to bring it up again. But in the end, NXT got about 916,000 people watching it, and AEW got 893,000. Now, keeping in mind that Nielsen ratings margin of error is about 10%, in reality, that really means that they're basically neck and neck.
They're as neck and neck as they come, yeah.
But the key demographics are the ones to really look at, and the overall demographic 18 to 49, NXT got 0.30, AEW got a 0.39, so AEW won that key demographic. And if you go to even the better demographic, the one that most people really would focus on, the 18 to 34, NXT got a 0.19 and AEW got a 0.33. So AEW darn near double on the 18 to 34 demo. And also about the only one that NXT beat them on is the 18 to 49 female demographic was slightly higher for NXT, which can make sense. NXT does have the more developed female roster and everything. And then the 50 plus demographic. NXT is a 0.40 50 plus, and AEW is a 0.29.
But your 50 plus audience as a whole is the audience that was the 18 to 34 in wrestling's television heyday. I'm not going to say this is the heyday. I would absolutely say in terms of quality, we actually get better matches now than we got back then. We had better storylines back then. But so that audience is the one that still maybe tuning into Raw on occasion. They're still maybe tuning into SmackDown on occasion. And they're going, oh, there's an invasion. Oh, and let's be honest about this. Monday Night Football's kind of been garbage recently. And so Raw's going up against a weaker television competitor this season, and NXT is getting exposure on Raw right now. It was a lot of luck that came together for NXT to win that.
Yeah, well, and a lot of luck, and just a lot of like I say, I mean, they had to bring in literally the big guns. Having
Becky Lynch wrestled on NXT. So
Seth Rollins, who they think is their superstar, wrestled on NXT.
The number 2 guy in the company behind Roman. So yeah.
So I mean, they really had to pull out all the punches, and they pulled them out hard. Like you said, Becky Lynch wrestled. They had the Revival wrestle. They had Seth Rollins, as I mentioned. I think I don't have I should pull up the full card because I don't have the full card for NXT results done. But I think if I remember correctly, there were 8 matches and 5 of them featured Raw or SmackDown superstars in them. and that really says a lot about what they had to do to get this win.
Yeah.
Is literally bring the big dogs into the ring. Now, it was super fun to see Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch, the man, in there. Regardless of the fact that it didn't go to a clean finish, a double disqualification, it still was fun to watch. Ricochet versus Matt Riddle. I know you're not a Matt Riddle fan, but that still is a fun match to watch.
That's a good match. My Matt Riddle disdain, it really is storyline based, not wrestling based. The guy has that for sure.
Yeah, Undisputed Era versus The Revival, as I mentioned, phenomenal match. One of the few matches that didn't feature a quote-unquote main roster star, Kaylee Ray versus Dakota Kai, but still a great match overall.
If you asked Tommaso Ciampa, that match actually featured only main roster stars.
Yeah, Ciampa would say that, yeah. Now, there was a cool moment during that, or after it, I guess, when Team NXT, Team Raw, and Team SmackDown of the women got involved, and they had this moment where you had Kairi Sane in the ring, and she looked over at her former NXT tag partner, Io Shirai. And keeping in mind, when they were tag partners in NXT, they were both faces, and now separately they are both heels. But they kind of looked across at each other, and it was kind of a cool little moment of like recognition. But do I hate you? But I'm a bad guy and you're a bad guy, so maybe I don't hate you. And then the ladder match, Adam Cole versus Dominik Dijakovic, which those are good performers. So, I mean, it was a good performance overall.
Who was the first name you said there?
Oh, yep. I'm sorry. I forgot. I didn't use his full legal given name.
Right.
Adam Cole, Bebe versus
There
Dominik.
we go. Thank you.
I was abbreviating it for brevity.
But you said Dominik Dijakovic.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
Because that's his stupid given. I really wanted to say Donovan Dijak because that's his real name, and no one can ever convince me otherwise.
Well, that's definitely the better performing name.
But in the grand scheme of things, it was still a great show. And AEW did a lot of great things, and I enjoyed AEW. And I'm more excited for next week's AEW than I am for next week's NXT, mostly because I know next week's AEW will have a lot of interesting storyline matches, and next week's NXT will be kind of a clean slate. You know, let's forget all about the Survivor Series and go back to the same old sort of a thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we take into account, and this is without looking at the cards for the last 3 or 4 weeks, what storylines can we know are going to occur between? We'll even give it the extra pay-per-view, so we won't give it just till the next pay-per-view, which I think is TLC. Is that right?
Yes, I think so.
So it's either TLC or Extreme Rules, which are pretty similar. But so if we give it 2 pay-per-views from the end of Survivor Series to Royal Rumble, which again is more of a building pay-per-view than it is a completion pay-per-view, but we can do some completed storylines. The existing storylines we have will be Adam Cole versus whomever maybe knocks him off. I don't think that's going to happen at Survivor Series, but we definitely have Adam Cole, Tommaso Ciampa, Adam Cole, Finn Balor, something there, right? Mm-hmm. We have Becky, Charlotte, who are still bitching at each other on the regular basis, so that's probably going to happen again, I would assume, before Royal Rumble or because of Royal Rumble. I don't really see a whole lot of other stories. I don't know that they can carry the Daniel Bryan versus Fiend thing out very far. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know. I don't think you can. I certainly don't think you can carry out Ray versus Brock that long without having it be Cain Velasquez again versus Brock or something. I just don't see a whole lot of extra gains there. You know, like I don't see other storylines being developed that either haven't already been told. Because sure, Ray versus Brock could easily Monday become Seth versus Brock again. You know, it's just kind of boring right now. I have to agree. You look past Survivor Series and you go, they have to build a ton of storylines before a physical assault pay-per-view, one that is about how you injure other people, where they're going to talk about how to injure other people.
Well, and so much of that comes down to, we've talked about WWE's lack of long-term booking for a long time. And that's a perfect example of it. Like, the problem with these themed pay-per-views are you find yourself having to shoehorn a tables match into a storyline for no real apparent reason. You know, tables matches used to come out of the storyline.
Really? They came out of the Dudleys.
Well, yeah, but it still was storyline based. It was so-and-so and so-and-so were fighting the Dudleys, and it would eventually come to the point where the only way they could settle it is with a tables match. Whoever could put someone through a table first would win, right? It was the same thing with ladder matches. They always were a climax to a longer storyline where it was, we can't settle this one-on-one in a ring without the extra violence of a ladder match. And that's, I'll point out, they had a ladder match on NXT yesterday, and it was a good ladder match. Adam Cole, Bay versus Dominik Dijakovic. But they did it. It's a ladder match as a setup match. And that's where I'm always a little bit like, ladder matches really should be a blow off. And so you got TLC coming up, and I guarantee you they're gonna shoehorn a ladder match or a TLC match into the women's title picture, whether it's Bayley or Becky, right? And it's just gonna be, hey, you want a shot at this title? Well, let's make it a ladder match.
And that'll be exactly how they say it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this something you're well known for? No, you've never done one of these before. Yet you asked for a ladder match.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell used to be the blow off to a major feud. It was like, these people cannot settle it in any other way, so we have to lock them in a cage and only one man exits. This has to be a big blow off. And it's time for Hell in a Cell, so we gotta have 3 different people challenge people to matches in Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Hell in a Cell matches that were 6 people. Why? Like, what did that do for you? The idea behind Hell in a Cell for not just the first match, but the first 2 matches were, number one, the first match was, you need to quit running away from me, HBK running from Undertaker. Mm-hmm. And the second one was Undertaker versus Mankind. I'll do anything to annihilate you. No, I'll do anything to annihilate you. Well, let's get locked into a cage that nobody can escape and annihilate each other. And then they both escaped and got up on top and threw each other off. Mm-hmm. And that moment somehow means that we have to do that every third one.
Pretty much. Anyways, I do want to get back, though, because we did get sidetracked on nitpicking the bad things about WWE. But I did want to point out this started out...
They are elevating right now. Yeah.
This started out as praising them for finally beating AEW in the ratings, but I just don't think it's going to last. I think AEW is going to bounce back next week. However, the other important thing I do want to point out, that means that on Wednesday night, nearly 2 million people watched professional wrestling on a Wednesday night. That is huge. That is up by almost 500,000 from previous week, all told. And that is huge. I mean, that's getting up there too. Wednesday night is getting almost as good of total viewership as Monday Night Raw, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal. Even though it's split between 2 companies and competing, that still means almost 2 million people took a Wednesday night out to watch wrestling, and that's huge. And I think it's only going to get bigger. And AEW had a slight dip this week, but it's only fitting for a dip to come the week after a major pay-per-view. It happened. True. So there's always a little bit of that. And then NXT pulled out all the stops and that, but it's a huge thing, and I wanted to really praise them. And I guess that's all I really had for Crime One. I just wanted to kind of talk about it and give credit where credit is due. They put together a great show, and they got rewarded for it this week. Here's hoping they can figure out some way to continue to make it last.
Well, paying the audience at Full Sail would be a good start to that, because that's part of why it's so easy to invest in NXT, is that is the best audience you will see.
Yes. The tough thing is it's the best audience in terms of individuals, but it's so small.
Yeah.
That there is an appearance to it, where when you turn on the TV and you see AEW and it appears to be a sold out arena, and then you flip over to NXT and it's a sold out college auditorium,
And I'll give you that, except for the fact that we've been to a live event together. And we know that there's ways to make things look sold out when they're not sold out. And Full Sail is legitimately sold out. And they're louder than Lincoln was.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I said appears to. But that's still a vision thing. When someone turns on the TV and sees that, it's something that they're going to think about. Now, I also have seen pictures from this last AEW event, and it was pretty darn close to sold out. Like, even
that wouldn't surprise me. They aren't going. Here's the big thing is they aren't going to 20 and 30,000 person arenas. I mean,
they're being smart about it.
The arena we went to in Lincoln, Nebraska, just so everybody knows, we are from Nebraska. But the arena we went to in Lincoln holds 22,000 people. And there were 10,000 there, or 10 to 12,000 there. The largest arena in Nebraska that would be indoors in Omaha holds, what does Quest or whatever it's called now hold? 33 tops?
TD Ameritrade, I think it's about that. 30 to maybe 40.
Soon to be the Charles Schwab Center, but we didn't.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about business stuff. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, 30-ish. And that competes rather solidly with most of your indoor arenas in the country that aren't giant domed football stadiums. So I would venture to guess most places they're selling 15,000 seats. Just get the arena that has 15,000 seats.
Yeah.
In the same area. That's what makes more sense to me. Mm-hmm. Quit chasing the largest arena. You don't have to go to Barclays every time.
Well, and there's another side to it. If you book a slightly smaller arena, that then means when you sell out, ticket demand is legitimately sold out. That creates an opinion in the customer's mind of premium, right?
Yeah.
So the next time you come, they're going to think more like, oh, last time it sold out, I better get tickets. Whereas if you've got a 20,000 seat arena and you only sell 15,000 of those seats.
If I'm available that night, I'll go. If I'm not, it's fine.
So,
Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, here's the deal. If you've got a 12,000 seat arena, which is still a big arena, I mean, it's not a small one by any means. That's what Civic used to have in Omaha, the little one in Omaha. Mm-hmm. 12 to 15,000. They'd sell that out every time they went to Omaha. Every single time. And yeah, I'm talking about Podunk, Nebraska, or the small. I'm talking about Nebraska. It's not the Podunk part of Nebraska. That's where I live. But the same goes for let's say Kansas City or let's go to New York. I mean, if you know you're going to sell out 15,000 seats, why on earth would you go to MSG? Mm-hmm. Why you wouldn't go to MSG or Barclays? You're going to try and find something smaller than that. Yeah. If 15,000 is really your number right now, it's okay to. I understand the Barclays is your thing. I understand MSG is your thing. But sometimes you just have to own the fact that you're not in the 90s anymore. get a smaller arena and work back up to Barclays and MSG. I promise they won't be all that pissed off. They'll find another way to make their revenues. Cross the river, go to a casino in Jersey City or in somewhere in Jersey, move on with life.
Yeah. Well, $10 beers are one of the major ways they make their money back.
Yeah. So just and I don't know how expensive those black sheets are, but there's an option there too.
But anyways, I think that finishes up with crime number 1, and we will move on to crime number 2 in just a moment. Before we get into crime number 2, we have a surprise guest just suddenly show up. He's been a guest on this podcast a few times before, both on the fantasy booking and then on last week's wrestling booking unit. Host of Real Talk Radio, Justin LeBlanc's joining us.
Surprise, surprise. I am here. I knocked at that door and you guys opened, and it is a very special weekend. What is going on, guys?
Not too much. We just did crime number 1, where we talked about WWE actually beating AEW in the ratings for NXT yesterday, but not in all of the demos that they really want to. So it was kind of a double-edged sword on that.
Exactly. Is that really a surprise, though?
No,
I mean, it's Survivor Series weekend, it's War Games weekend, like, even Jericho, I'm sure you guys have mentioned it, even Jericho posted, guys, it's a marathon, not a sprint, something along those lines.
Yeah.
So,
and, I mean, the simple fact is, it took NXT bringing in most of the big stars of their main roster for a once-a-year event for NXT to beat AEW in the Wednesday night ratings, and I don't think it's going to happen again next week. So,
interestingly enough, statistically speaking, Jericho was actually more likely to watch NXT last night than he was to watch AEW.
I actually missed. I still have to catch up on AE dubs. I got home late yesterday. Didn't catch it, so apparently the main event was good, so I'm looking forward to doing. I'm just happy as a wrestling fan, guys, because NXT tonight was, I say tonight because I don't have the US network, so I can't watch it live, so I watched it on the WWE network the night after, and what a show.
Yeah, it was a great show, and it was the better show, and we mentioned that. It was definitely the better show. Not to dog AEW, I really enjoyed AEW, but NXT was the better show. So it deserved to win, I agree. But I think, it's kind of like they won on this one special night, and then next week, I bet you it goes back to AEW winning. However, one of the things I was pointing out is we still got almost 2 million people watching wrestling on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And that is a huge thing. Regardless of who won between the two shows, it is still a huge thing that we had nearly 2 million people watching wrestling on a Wednesday.
Yeah, it's just flat out a win for all of wrestling.
And honestly, even if WWE beats AEW next week or NXT beats AEW next week, does it really matter? This is good. This means that WWE is changing it up because they have to.
Yep.
So this is a good thing that's happening. Who's going to win the war? Does it really matter? We're winning. The wrestling fans are winning. So I'm happy.
But so on that note, we will move on to crime number 2.
Crime number 2.
DA Fabe, what you got for him?
Well, I was on the negative side of things a little bit here. Mine actually doesn't. I don't want to revolve around the upcoming Survivor Series and NXT Takeover, and the primary reason is because we're going to do that closeout. So one of the things I noticed recently that's kind of become a frustration for me is, as of late, the product that's being put out is better watched in highlight than it is in live mode. And the reason I bring that up, last year at Evolution, which was just before Survivor Series, we had what was the 2018 match of the year in Charlotte versus Becky in the last woman standing match, or last one standing, I think is how they need to go with those now. But and it just popped up in my news feed, and so the highlights are the stronger entertainment than the actual story and tuning in live. And I think what the telltale signs of a very good television show, and that's what they are, they're television shows, are the week to week I need to tune in and watch live, or week to week I need to DVR it and watch it on my schedule, however it may be. And we aren't really getting that because the storylines suffer as much as they do. And we talked a little bit in the last crime about the storylines post Survivor Series, how there's very few of them developed. So it's so enjoyable to go back and watch the great matches that we had, even if they weren't great storylines, because that's all we're getting some great matches intermixed with some not so good matches and not the best storytelling in the world. I will give props to NXT for helping there be a better storyline, but we're still working on better storylines.
Agree.
So.
Well, and just in general, the storytelling in matches can be a little lacking, especially WWE's got a method to their matches that it isn't conducive to like real storytelling. They've basically got a formula where do this, then this, then this, then this, and then the finish,
Right.
And not saying AEW's got it figured out, because they by far don't. But to go to before AEW, you watch Okada versus Omega, 1, 2, or 3, or all 3 of them, and they had a very distinct story being told in each one, and it wasn't formulaic. It wasn't set up in this happens and this happens and this happens. Each one had its own story arc, and it told a whole story, and that's something that WWE as a whole tends to miss. NXT does better at it, but they still have the WWE way that kind of gets in the way of them telling real stories with their matches. So, which then leads to them being basically highlight shows where, you can watch the YouTube 3-minute version of the match and get, the storyline well enough that you're good to go. But I don't think anyone could watch a 5-minute highlight reel of the Omega Okada matches and
understand the whole story.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, I do have to give them props that they have that streaming, that they're putting that on social media, and it's popping into news feeds and things of that sort. So there's a positive there. The downside is maybe give us the Shinsuke Rusev match every now and then. Don't give me wrestling porn. In wrestling porn, you're gonna go to whatever shot you want to watch, and you're going to do whatever it is you need to do to enjoy wrestling that moment. And then you're going to turn off the wrestling porn, because it's time to be done with wrestling porn.
And it doesn't have to be longer than 3 minutes, because who needs longer than 3 minutes?
Still talking about wrestling.
Yeah.
So was I.
Yeah.
So was I.
Still talking about
I was going to say.
It was entirely wrestling.
At the end of the day, though, guys, even I know tons of people who don't even watch it live, or who don't necessarily PVR it, but they'll just watch the highlights, even for AEW. Why? Just because I think that's where we are now. People are just doing so many things, and they just can't dedicate, and there's so much wrestling on, right? So how do you keep up? How do you take 6 hours a week just to dedicate yourself to 3 shows, and then not even counting a pay-per-view? So that's about 10 hours a week if it's pay-per-view week. It's a lot of wrestling, and I'm sorry if all it was wrestling for your entire life, and you know, you don't have kids, you don't have a job, you know, you'd be fine, you'd be great. 10 hours a week, that's doable. But I think a lot of people are into the highlights now, just because, you know what, you're gonna get what you want. It's like that movie trailer that you see that entices you to go see the movie, but then when you go see the movie, you're like, I saw all the best parts on the trailer, what was the point? Now, some movies won't have that. Some movies are good. They tell a story and it gets you going. But at the end of the day, that's kind of, I feel, where we are in society, in the sense of us. Like, I mean, I watch, but at the same time, I haven't caught up, right? Like, I haven't caught up with AEW. I was doing things. Definitely going to watch it. But at the end of the day, I'm still skipping. I'm still skipping too. Like, all right, let's go. I guess it's just short attention span too that could kind of.
Well, frankly, if they don't improve something and get rid of the Lana Rusev storyline, I might start skipping Raw.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. You can actually
wait. So you're watching Raw because of Lana, and that's
no. I'm saying they need to get rid of it so that I can start watching Raw again because it's so bad.
You PVR it and you just skip over the whole segment.
Yeah, but that takes effort, and it's a lot easier just to say, I'm not going to watch it.
I think where that lies in impact, though, in terms of what we look at, though, is that's exactly what we're talking about. We enjoy the wrestling a lot. We enjoy stories being told during the wrestling. We don't enjoy garbage vignettes, and that's what gets thrown out by the fan. The fan who DVRs, that'd be me, that'd be you, Justin, right?
Yep.
Okay. Throws out those garbage vignettes. Now, if it's an intriguing vignette, yeah, I'll watch it. But if it's not, I'm gonna throw it out. Like, you got 12 seconds to make this a good vignette, or I'm skipping 15 seconds, seeing if it's okay. Skipping 15 seconds, seeing if it's okay. And a lot of times I don't watch an entire vignette because there doesn't look to be any semblance of a future payoff whatsoever. And I think when we have that world that we have all this on demand, do I give props for WWE for putting that out there, for putting those best matches available? Sure. The downside is that's actually drawing away from your money-making product. So put your money-making product out there as well at that level, or what you're doing on social media makes me go, well, I'll spend 30 minutes watching a pay-per-view that I watched one match in a pay-per-view that I watched last year that I've already seen and I know how it ends, over 5 minutes of Lana and Rusev that they're getting paid for.
Yeah, but you can't compare it to Lana and Rusev, man.
Okay, then the Lucha House Party versus the OC in a squash that I know what's going to happen, so I don't even need to watch it.
Agreed.
Oh, no, valid. Or an Eric Rowan match, because now he's just facing jobbers every Raw, which is stupid. It's a waste of time. You could have built a storyline or something. I don't know why they keep doing this, though. They did it with Braun Strowman when he originally came into Raw.
I really think Eric Rowan is just their attempt to have a second Braun Strowman. I mean, you saw him do the run around the ring.
Yeah, but this time it's like it's a belly flop or whatever, side, whatever it's called.
But it's still running around the. Okay, so cool, you did a crossbody block. It's still just a run around. You're like trying to duplicate him, but hey, we made it a little bit different. Like, I don't know. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, they just don't know. Like, but honestly though, I just feel. But that's why AEW is doing well, because they're just a bunch of spots. When you watch
their free social media stuff is unique.
But it's spot fest. That's all it is, and that's why people get, because it's just, oh wait, I'm gonna lose interest, but then I see another flip, and then I see another move, and then it piques your interest, but it's just spots. It's spot fests. That's all it is. But at the end of the day, we're also gonna get bored of that too. Essentially.
Yeah, well, and that's where the power of those vignettes and whatnot have been so solid. in AEW recently. That's where a good quality vignette in WWE turns out great, but there's just really bad vignettes too, and it almost makes you think: do you listen to the script be read beforehand? I mean,
no, they don't. That's the answer.
Yeah,
obviously, yeah.
Well, can you explain to me what's a good vignette that's happened in WWE recently?
It's gonna take me a minute.
That's what I'm saying, though. There hasn't been.
They opened pretty solid. That banter, and they're annoying, and the voice of one of them, and I think it's Billy Kay, is incredibly excruciating to the ears. But that open on Monday wasn't bad.
I would say part of the reason the vignettes on WWE main roster shows fail so much is that they're written for an audience of one, not an audience of million. And I say that because they're written entirely to please VKM, and if he likes it, then it gets on the show. And I think AEW's vignettes, while they're still working out some kinks in it, I can tell you the one a couple weeks ago when Chris Jericho was interrupting Cody from up in the booth, and Cody and his friends ended up going up and storming the booth, and eventually a big fight breaks out. That was well written, well planned out, and it was written for the fans, not for Tony Khan, It was written to tell the story, not to please a single person. And that's part of where the problem lies with WWE right now, is that all of those writers know that to keep their job, they don't have to please the fans. They just have to please Vincent Kennedy McMahon. And all reports have it that he absolutely loves the Rusev-Lana storyline right now. So, of course, they're going to continue to. That being said, it also gets 2 million views on YouTube. So
that's it. Yeah.
So
one of those views was mine
2 million
from last
fans
week.
for that. So the other thing to say is, again, mad props to WWE for having the understanding that sometimes it'll bring somebody back if they see a really, really great match that they remember from before. Because it sucked me in today. And I watched 30 minutes of wrestling when I really needed to be watching 30 minutes of other wrestling.
And the other thing with it, not only did it
which
suck
match
me in,
was this?
It was the Charlotte Becky match
from last year, I believe.
From last year at Evolution, the last woman standing match. With the top rope powerbomb through a table to finish it. I mean, how do you not?
I don't remember. Yeah.
But I mean, in the end, the one thing that it also did was make you step back and say, why did they not do another Evolution?
Well, that's kind of in the works.
It absolutely did that to me.
Yeah, they had potentially the best match of the entire year, like you said. And to this
I think
year,
it got the Slammy for it, didn't it? The WWE award for it.
I'm not even sure, but
WWE put that it was match of the year for 2018 on their own.
On their own thing, then match of the year. Basically. But that's the deal, is they had match of the year, and then the next year they go, nah, we don't need to do that.
Yeah, and what most fans called one of the top 3 pay-per-views of the year. I called it the best pay-per-view of the year, but I can understand. It was
probably my favorite in the year.
So,
but yeah, I get it.
So yeah, I mean, as a whole, I was going to issue another crime. I was going to issue a crime for Overload for Survivor Series. However, we haven't seen how Survivor Series is going to be done this time. I cannot fathom that the Survivor Series matches won't have 30-second matches.
Well, how many matches are we in right now? How many are confirmed?
8. For Survivor Series, 8, I believe. 8 total matches confirmed. And who knows, they might somehow or another pull another one out tomorrow night. They've been known to do that.
And that's a 4-hour pay-per-view.
Or,
guys,
I don't know,
say 2
an
more
hour
is coming up.
The show.
I say two
What's
more
that?
is coming up. I say two more. There's going to be one more announced on SmackDown, and then they're going to randomly announce one after War Games for it to go to actually
But the
on
problem with
Survivor
that,
Series.
two of those matches should, and I wasn't trying to bring up this crime because I was going to allow it time to find out if a crime had been committed yet or not. But two of those matches have to go longer than 30 minutes. There's 15 people in those matches.
That deal is.
If we have sequential 30-second roll up, 30-second roll up, 30-second roll up, 30-second roll up, that's still a 7.5 minute match for garbage.
I mean, with 8 matches, if the 2 Survivor Series matches are 30 minutes long, let's just say they are, right? That's already an hour, plus the build-up beforehand is going to be about half an hour combined, at least for both of them. So that's an hour and a half out of the 4-hour pay-per-view in those 2 matches alone, right? Then keeping in mind
that, not great. Those matches need more time.
But then keeping in mind that of the remaining 6 matches, you've got 1, 2, 3 triple threat matches, which need to be 15-20 minute long matches.
Yeah, because of the broken up near falls. Yep.
So there's
you know
another,
what though?
There's another hour and a half out of there. So now you're at 3 hours, and you've still got 3 matches to go in that last hour. I think 8 matches for this setup is probably where they need to be.
I think it's too high.
I think it's going to be 5 hours, guys. I'm feeling like it's going to hit 5 hours or something, because unless the Survivor Series matches are really short, and because honestly, they need the Becky Lynch, Bayley, Shayna Baszler to be long. They have to. They really have. And the Fiend matches, yeah, for sure. And also the Fiend match, I feel like it's going to be long too.
I don't think they need to add any more matches. I think 8 matches is the maximum. But the only thing is, I'm looking at it, and there's none of these that scream out pre-show, kickoff show. So if they're going to add matches, I bet you I wouldn't be surprised if they announce a couple matches that are just kickoff.
And you know what? I feel like the Survivor Series women's elimination match is going to be on the kickoff for some reason.
What a terrible decision.
That would be a horrible.
That would piss off so many fans.
Yeah.
The women's product is the elevated product for WWE right now.
Or you know what? I don't know, man. Like, I feel like they're going to ruin it with something, because I feel like one of those Survivor Series matches is going to have to be on the kickoff.
There's going to have to be something. Or
AJ versus Shinsuke versus Roderick Strong, which would be messed up.
Yeah, that one I could be put there.
Yeah, I could see it. But like I said, none of them scream out. Like, there's not a Cruiserweight Championship match that just screams out, put this on the pre-show. So
there's not Lucha House Party.
Theo Rush versus Angel Garza is apparently going to be for the not confirmed, but it's rumored that that's going to be on the pre-show for sure.
Yeah,
Theo Rush.
They haven't officially announced it. If they do announce it, yeah, it's going to be on the kickoff. That being said,
great match to have an actual show.
Technically, the Cruiserweight Championship is now an NXT product, so they could totally have that on the TakeOver. They don't have it currently listed, but I could see them moving that to the TakeOver.
By the way, is Adam Cole facing anybody?
Funny you should ask. You know, I think this actually makes a pretty good time to segue into the final segments
predictions
of this show. So we're going to go on to predictions. I'm going to break in here really quickly to talk about our sponsor. I know you've heard me mention Anchor.fm before. It's by far the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain really quickly. It's free. You don't have to have any experience in advance to do it. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. They're going to distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, many other more, Google Podcasts, pretty much any place you can look for a podcast. And you can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It is everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So what are you waiting for? Go download the free Anchor app on the App Store or go to anchor.fm to get started.
TakeOver predictions.
exactly why I did it, guys. Not because I wanted to know.
Good segue.
Thank you.
So we're going to start off chronologically TakeOver War Games, since that's going to happen Saturday, and the effects of it are going to play into Sunday.
Perfect.
So we are going to start off, and of course, we have no idea where these are going to play in the overall scheme of things, but we do know that the first match of the night will likely be Pete Dunne versus Damian Priest versus Killian Dane. And the only reason I know that'll likely be the first match on the TakeOver pay-per-view is because the winner of that goes on the next night to face Adam Cole at Survivor Series. So
who is this? Bebe.
Adam Cole, Bebe.
You're going to get it right someday.
The funny thing is, I'm the bigger Adam Cole Bebe fan here.
I've really fallen in love with the Bebe part. I really have. I don't know why.
My wife thinks I'm crazy, but I really love the boom part in his entrance. It's so silly and cheesy and stupid, but just he stands there and he waits for it, and as soon as it hits, he thumb to it, boom, and the whole crowd just loves it. And I'm one of them. So Pete Dunne versus Damian Priest versus Killian Dane. D.A. Fabe and I kind of talked a little bit about this on the show earlier this week, but like I just suspicion that they've got plans for Pete Dunne versus Killian Dane to continue. So I think they're going to have Damian Priest be the winner. I don't think it's time for him yet, but I think that's what they're going to do.
Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I don't know the other two well enough. I feel like I guess I don't watch NXT enough, but I don't know Killian Dane enough to really know how he is, or even Damian Priest either. Like, I've seen Pete Dunne a bunch of times. I feel like it's not going to be Pete Dunne, though, because I feel like that's just going to be a squash match. He's an amazing wrestler, but I just feel like he's not going to take it. I feel like whoever faces Adam Cole might get the one up.
Bebe.
Yeah.
My bad. Bebe. Excuse me. Sorry.
Go on. Sorry. We don't mean to interrupt.
No, but that's it. So just for that fact, I just don't know the other two wrestlers. So has any of these guys had a little response with Adam Cole recently on NXT? Has there been any kind of, because I don't think anything happened with Pete Dunne and Adam Cole
No, as of right now, none of them have really directly interacted with Adam Cole, Bebe. So
sorry. Yep.
So Killian Dane used to be a member of Sanity, and then after they brought him up to the main roster and didn't do anything with him, and then broke up Sanity for no damn reason, and then sent
Insanity
Alexander Wolf back down to NXT UK. They put Killian Dane down to regular NXT, but he's a big brute guy from Belfast.
He was Eric, but at the end of the day, he was Eric Young's bitch.
Yeah. Well, he was Insanity. He was the muscle, the dumb muscle.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm remembering.
Chubby guy. Looks
I remember
a little
him
bit like Otis on steroids.
Yeah. Or
that's actually a very valid.
Or whichever one of the Viking Raiders is the chubbier one. I can never remember their new name.
Yeah.
No. Eric and Ivar.
Eric and Ivar. I just don't know which one's Eric or Ivar.
Yeah. Interesting thing, Killian Dane is actually married to Nikki Cross. So everyone's giving WWE all this credit for keeping all the couples together on Raw and SmackDown, but they apparently did not care about Nikki Cross and Killian Dane.
Well, they're just NXT. It doesn't matter. You made them become main roster. All right.
That's it. And it's not like you're a Charlotte Flair either, right? Like, Charlotte Flair is not going to create a hissy. Nikki Cross is not going to create like a little hissy fit compared to what Charlotte Flair would do, you know?
No one would really listen if Nikki Cross did, whereas Charlotte Flair.
Exactly.
So who do you got?
Flair says, I want Andrade here. It happens.
Pretty much. So who you thinking, Justin?
Honestly, I'm just gonna go with Pete Dunne. I think he's a phenomenal wrestler, and I know more about him than the other two. So by default, Pete Dunne.
Cool enough. On to Fabe.
I'm gonna go ahead and say solidly this is still Triple H's show. And because it's still Triple H's show, I can in no way, shape, or form endorse not a better build to a storyline. I really, really enjoy Damian Priest matches. I like the dark characters. We've already talked about this a little bit. In several episodes, we've mentioned that sometimes, especially dark characters, but sometimes characters don't have to be after a title. And I think that's a very reasonable move for him. Killian Dane is also kind of a dark character, brawler. He might want some gold, but doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Pete Dunne's been there, done that, had the gold. And it's kind of an ultimate overcomer story with him taking on two very large men. I got to go with the bruiserweight. I'm going to go with Pete Dunne. I have him. I also think you get a better. I think you get a better NXT Championship match out of him with Adam Cole Bebe, and it allows Mr. Bebe to come out pretty clean and have a setup for Tommaso Ciampa or Finn or any other. You got Dijak, you got Keith Lee. Whoop whoop. I almost forgot his last name too. Whew. So Mr. Bebe, I think, gets a better match out of the bruiserweight, and I think that's where they go with that.
Now I'm going to point out, while I think Damian Priest is going to be the winner, I don't think Damian Priest should be the winner.
We've had that talk a little bit already.
I think Pete Dunne is more prepared to be the number one contender and put on a great match the next night. I just think they've been building up so much with this Killian Dane versus Pete Dunne, with even Pete Dunne a couple weeks ago saying, I don't care about Killian Dane, and then Killian Dane coming out and interfering with his match. I think they're just setting up for a more extended feud between them, which then leaves Damian Priest's odd man out to be the winner.
You're the odd man out. Yeah. Congratulations on your title shot.
So yeah. But moving on, next one on the list that I'm looking at here, who knows where it's going to fall in the thing. I hope it falls more towards the top of the card than the bottom, but Finn Balor versus Matt Riddle. Let's go with DFA first.
I tried to mute while my cough was coming, but I can't stop them.
Nope. You done failed.
All right. Yeah, I know I failed badly, miserably. I failed so bad that I failed almost as bad as Matt Riddle's gonna fail. Finally, I get to see him lose. Thank heavens. And we get a Finn Balor victory. Starting off what looks to be maybe a Balor takeover of the Undisputed Era. I don't really know what's going on there. There's definitely an agreement there, but we don't know where it's going. So yeah, hands down, Finn Balor wins this match. Matt Riddle has shown enough of himself that fans are still with him. This character, Finn Balor, has not had a match yet. Heel Finn Balor has not had a match yet. And I understand that Finn Balor has had matches, and I understand he's very over already. But at the end of the day, you cannot have bad guy heel come in and lose a match this early. We said the same thing about The Fiend. It's definitely got to be the case with Finn Balor. So I'm going to say Finn Balor wins.
Okay, what you got, Justin?
Yeah, you know what, though? But he can afford to lose, because even if he does lose, people are still going to respect him. People aren't going to think he's a jobber now, and so on and so forth. Matt Riddle's already pretty popular, but why not make him look even bigger by making him beat Finn Balor, and then one of the Undisputed Era people making the cause of Finn Balor losing, thus creating an Undisputed Era Balor food? No, you're not seeing it?
No, not seeing it. But
okay. I see it, but
so
I don't
you're
like
saying
it.
Riddle. Oh, bro.
Okay, it's definitely gonna be Balor.
Bro.
I'm of the same mindset as DA Fabe. This Finn Balor has not had a match yet. Yes, Finn Balor has had lots of matches on the main roster and lots of matches in NXT, but it wasn't this Finn Balor. It wasn't the Prince Devitt Finn Balor. It wasn't the heel Finn Balor. And you can't have him come back, do a major heel turn, kick Johnny Gargano in the face, and then lose his first match. You just can't. Now, I'm not... It's not
well, unless Gargano interferes.
You know, there's always that chance.
There's the possibility for DQ or double DQ.
It's gonna be a build-up. It's gonna be a build-up to something, and Balor has to lose, though. I mean, this is your opinion. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I understand where you're coming from. I just don't agree with it. And so in the end, I think even if Johnny Gargano makes an appearance and attempts to interfere, I think Balor's going to end up winning. This is going to be a show of force. This is going to be him setting stake in NXT and saying, this is my kingdom now, and the Prince is going to run this place. It still is going to set up for the eventual Johnny Gargano match, but because of Johnny Gargano's injury and inability to actually compete fully in this, I don't see it happening. I mean, Riddle was just a warm body put into place to try to keep this going for the next thing. So I think Balor is the only one who can win, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, but
we also thought that about the Fiend.
Yeah, true. And we've been wrong before, but in this case, nice thing is, looking at this right now, so far two matches into this prediction, and there hasn't been a universal pick from all three of us yet, so that can be kind of fun. So we're gonna move on to the men's War Games match. So you've got the Undisputed Era, that of course is Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, and Mr. Bebe himself. Versus Tommaso Ciampa, Keith Lee, Dominik Dijakovic, and to be determined. And the fact that they didn't determine it yesterday,
last night,
makes me wonder if they don't have someone big making a debut or appearance. And so
so this would be your call first, right?
This is going to be my call
first. And along with this being your prediction, let's predict your person.
Yeah, I will.
Sorry.
I was gonna.
Jesus.
I'm gonna need you to get.
Shut up, baby.
I'm gonna need you to get all the way off my back about.
Holy crap! Sorry, monkey backing down. Let's go.
Okay, so I think that TBA is going to be the deciding factor in this. So I think Tommaso Ciampa, Keith Lee, and Dominik Dijakovic are going to come out as the winner. The nice thing with this is because it's not for any titles or whatever, the Undisputed Era can take a loss and still come out of it dripping in gold. Because I keep my ear to the ground for the rumor mill over the time, and I typically don't like to talk about the rumors because, you know, the reliability of them can be suspect depending on where you get it. One of the rumors over the last few months of a WWE signing that so far has not shown up on WWE TV, despite the rumor taking place a full month and a half ago, well before the last main roster review, was a guy who previously had been in WWE and had since gone off to the indies and work in a bunch of relatively high-profile non-WWE rosters, reportedly signed with WWE, Mr. John Morrison.
Right. Okay.
And so...
Sorry, I had to finish.
So, and I just think this is a perfect time for him to debut, show up and make a big splash. I don't see any reason for them to have not named the person now unless it's going to be someone who is a big surprise. And that's where I think
And that's a big surprise. Yeah.
It's a big surprise. And a War Games match really does give him a lot of chance to show off some of the stuff that he can do. A Starship Pain off the top corner could be pretty fun to watch. So that's where my pick goes. The team of Ciampa, Lee, Dominic Dijakovic, and John Morrison.
Cool choices, man. All right, is this me next, or is this Justin?
We will go with Justin next.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm agreeing with you 100%. I think the to be a determined wrestler is going to be the ultimate benefactor on that team winning, and I completely agree. They also was it this match that they were saying that Triple H might be considered as the to be determined guy, and then there was something along the lines of Triple H mentioned he doesn't want to be that guy. Okay, yeah, no, but John Morrison does sound like a sweet spot.
There were some rumors at one point, but I think in a recent conference call, Triple H said, no, NXT is for the young people. And so while he'll show back up for a main roster Saudi Arabia match to make a buttload of money, I think he's content with letting the youngsters at least be the faces of NXT. So
yeah, and I agree with that too. I just feel like Vince would want John Morrison on the main roster, but he would be so much better in NXT. And I mean main roster as in Raw or SmackDown, because he's already a known name-ish, so I don't know. I want to see him in NXT though, so I'm going for that. I'm pulling for a John Morrison surprise appearance. And I completely agree with that. So Undisputed Era is taking a loss here, baby.
And then on to DA Fabe. Is this going to be a clean sweep?
I won't allow it to be. I'm a jerk like that. So I'm gonna change this up a little bit. I do think, here's the deal. Undisputed Era has won the last 2 War Games men's matches. Sorry, they have to lose. They have to. And then they need to not be in it next year. I love Undisputed Era. I love saying baby. They have to lose. So that's number one. Undisputed Era will lose this one. I have been trying to decide if the Gargano news is fake news. I do believe he's actually out, but I'm trying to decide if it's fake or not, because WWE is really good at that. If it's not fake, Gargano is the other man.
Why would they do that? Because
so
he was
they
supposed
can
to be
get
in the other
Matt Riddle
match.
versus Finn Balor.
Crash TV, bro.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's fake, maybe it's not. Maybe they didn't want to see him do big spots, with the injury. Well, there's a lot more room to be protected from big spots in an 8-man match than there is in a 1-man match, especially when it's against Finn Balor. So you're gonna have to do big spots in a 1-man match with Finn Balor. So they could have done that fake. I don't think it's fake though. I think they're gonna hold him out of this stuff. There might be some interference though, and I was pretty impressed with, you mentioned that earlier, Justin. That said, the extra man is the one I'm gonna tell you that I think might be different. I love the idea of John Morrison. Smarks and I have had numerous conversations about Morrison needs to be back in WWE or AEW. Morrison needs to be back in WWE or AEW. Morrison needs to be back in WWE or AEW. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go with a main roster call down to this, and I'm going to say it's going to be Seth Rollins. I'm going to say Seth's little battle with Undisputed Era is going to trump. The next night, hey, we're against each other tomorrow night to Dijak and all of them. But tonight, I'm with you guys. And I think that's my big move. I think the surprise will be Seth. That's my second best I can give you. I'd love it to be John Morrison, though. And the more pressing and more important question, if Tommaso Ciampa or the other person don't start the match, How are they going to fit Keith Lee and Dijak in the same cage?
Well, that's why it's two cages wide.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's what I figured too. Yeah.
That way they each have their own ring.
No, I mean in the same cage in the waiting cage.
Oh, the waiting cage. Yeah. I don't know.
That's not that big.
No, it's optical illusion. It's deeper than you think it is.
So I'm gonna go with Keith Lee as the one who starts it for their team.
Again, wrestling officer, wrestling. We're talking about wrestling here. One job.
It's bigger on the inside.
Come on
I
in.
should have shut my trap.
Okay, so now we will move on to the women's War Game match. Just so everyone knows the players in it, just a refresher: Shayna Baszler, Kaylee Ray, Io Shirai, and Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley, Candice LeRae, Mia Yim, and Tegan Nox. Name not included in those is Team Kick, bestie with Tegan Nox, and I'm totally blanking on her name all of a sudden.
Can't help
I've lost it too.
What's her name?
Oh my gosh.
Best friend with Tegan Nox.
She just came back.
Yeah, she did. And I'm totally blanking on it. Anyways, she didn't make it into the match.
Robo legs.
Yes, other Robo legs. But she just came back and didn't make it into the thing, and so she could potentially be the distraction on the outside or something. I don't know. Anyways, but I think this is DA Fabe's turn to go first.
Okay. This match doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand how it's not Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir in there.
Because they're not any good.
I understand that. They're still her lackeys in storyline nonstop. So why would you not include them? I mean, again, you can hide bad wrestlers in multi-wrestler matches really, really well. So I especially in this, I mean, you just have Shayna come out first against whomever, and that okay, we're good, we're fine. Not to mention, how does so this is the issue I have with this. Suddenly Bianca Belair is over being Daffley after Shayna. Like, it's just the parts I don't get. It's an open top cage. I'm going to say this ends with interference involved from outside sources. Either Jessamine and Marina, perhaps, good Lord, I want her name too, and I can't do it. All the other pieces to this puzzle, it's going to have some interference in it. I'm going to say that it really seems like they're trying to push, what's her name? The tall gal, the captain
Ripley?
of Rhea, thank you. Holy cow, I'm losing names left and right. I feel like Justin.
Honestly, there's touche. Well played. I deserve that.
So I think Rhea gets the pin. She's the big push right now. And I think Bianca's team, or I think not Bianca's. Well, it is Bianca's team, but Shayna's Baszler's team takes the loss, but Shayna herself does not take the loss. So
Dakota Kai. Oh,
Dakota Kai is
kindly remember
it. You looked it up.
Yeah, I looked it up.
For sure.
But it's one of those. It was bugging the crap out of me.
Just by his
Dakota Kai.
random Dakota Kai, like you could just tell he just found it and he wanted you to let you know. Oh my God, I found it, Dakota Kai. Like for sure. Definitely looking.
If there's not interference, it'll be because Dakota Kai stops Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke.
So you're saying Baszler?
I'm saying Baszler's team loses.
Okay.
I'm saying Baszler herself does not take a loss here. There are other people in place to take that loss. That's the cool part about this match. Only one person has to get pinned.
Yep.
Oh.
And I truly believe Rhea's push continues, and I think she gets the win for her team.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
I think.
And you know what? I agree with that as well. Just because Rhea Ripley has been she's clearly being pushed, and she's actually really phenomenal talent. And her match against Becky Lynch on NXT that happened yesterday was pretty awesome too. It got me to. This is my second match I believe I've seen with her. Rhea Ripley. So I'm really liking her style, and they're definitely pushing her. Candice LeRae, I felt like she came out during the ladder match from the week prior, no? To help out.
No.
Dakota
Kai came out, and then Kaylee Ray came out and beat him up.
Yeah.
But that's it. Shayna Baszler, I completely agree with kayfabe on that one. Shayna Baszler's team is gonna lose, but she's not gonna take the loss. And I feel like Bianca Belair is gonna be the one taking the loss, unfortunately.
That's fine.
I think it's one of the other ones.
Sorry?
I think it's one of the other ones. I think that's the other one that they can't make lose there, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, it's tough because, I think just so that we don't have any more ones where we all agree, I am going to go ahead and say the Baszler's team wins. Even though I'm not entirely certain I believe that.
Wow. So you pretty much agree that,
I intentionally picked the other team on the last one, so
I'm not. This is the one that I'm the most torn on just in general, because I can see either way. If Rhea Ripley is the one who pins whoever, right, then she can come out on NXT next week and say she's got a legitimate argument for a shot at Shayna. I just I'm looking at it and I don't know if I see Bianca Belair taking.
Yeah.
Then
you would just pin Shayna. You would let her pin Shayna, no? To build that up? Why not? Hey, I beat you at War Game.
Possibly. And that's what I was going through. I don't see Bianca Belair because I think they're trying to build her up too much. And her losing, being the one who loses, costing Shayna Baszler the match, keeps her in the title picture with Baszler angry back and Io Shirai, they're trying to build up too much as this absolute badass. So I just don't necessarily see her. And Kaylee Ray is the NXT UK Women's Champion. And so I just don't see her taking the pin either.
She can take that fall, though, from Rhea because she was the one who beat Rhea.
Possibly. And so the other side of the coin, I can see Mia Yim taking a pin in a heartbeat.
I'll give you that.
I
could see Tegan Knox taking a pin.
Tegan Knox potentially taking a pin. And frankly, I love Candice LeRae. I can totally see her taking a pin because that's all they seem to do with her is have her
valid.
So I think I'm just gonna go with Team Baszler on this, mostly just to be different and make it so one way or another, one of us is going to come away with the most points. Because there's only one of the matches that we all picked the same winner, and that's the men's War Games. But there was a difference in potential surprise person on it. So I think in the end, we're going to have a definite winner amongst us on that. Okay. So now we shall move on to the Sunday, the main event.
Survivor Series predictions.
WWE Survivor Series, which, like I say, has one match on it. Possibly this is one that I could see being on the kickoff show, if only because it's not a main roster match. It is the NXT Championship match featuring Mr. Adam Cole Bay versus the winner of the Pete Dunne, Damian Priest, and Killian Dane triple threat match from TakeOver. So
such a weird place to put it, though.
It is. It's just
at the same time.
So
I think they're just trying to feature some NXT product.
I think that's
on this pay-per-view to draw more people to Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
So we will go ahead and start with that, and I will go first. And say
Priest versus Bebe.
Yep, I would have Priest versus Bebe, but to be perfectly honest, I don't think it matters who wins on Saturday night. I do not see them having Adam Cole Bebe lose the championship on not a TakeOver or NXT branded show.
Especially not a pre-show.
Especially not
if it's
Right.
So I am
Bebe.
firmly in the Mr. Cole hyphen Bebe. Matt. I'm assuming his dad was a Bebe and his mom was a Cole.
It could be.
So we will move on to DA Fave. Who you got?
This is part. I don't want everybody to be the same, but I think we're all going to be the same on this one. You can't have Adam Cole lose here. You just can't. Adam Cole Bebe. Wow. Adam. I'll just call him by his first name. I'm not going to give you the full name because that's just weird.
That's awfully familiar of you.
Well, we're close. I've been to the Bebe family reunion. So anyway, Adam and Pete will put on a banger of a match. And it will draw people to NXT, and it's a wonderful move. But Adam wins. I mean, it's Bebe's night, so he wins.
Okay, and moving on to Justin. Is this going to be the clean sweep?
And you know what? Because you guys like to switch it up, and you don't want to do clean sweeps. I am perhaps going to give you a hard no. It's not going to be a clean sweep. Pete Dunne will take it. And although I might not necessarily want that to happen, here's my theory on that. Pete Dunne takes it, Bebe goes to Raw or SmackDown. Why would they be doing this? Because they've been pushing Adam Cole, Bebe, with going to Raw and SmackDown. The fans making him familiar of Raw and SmackDown. They have made other superstars higher on NXT as well to replace an Adam Cole type figure. We have Finn Balor, we have Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano's already kind of been there. Officer Kayfabe's not going to like it, but Riddle could definitely fall into that spot. A lot of people like him. He's a phenomenal wrestler. So I'm thinking Vince might want to bring Cole to the main roster and make him a bigger, a heavyweight champion on Raw or SmackDown.
Okay, and then they could rename him Shorty Bebe.
Oh, I mean, there might be conditions. Triple H might allow it to happen in the sense of, hey, listen, you want Adam Cole? I'm down, but you cannot mess this up. You have to guarantee me, well, then again, what can Triple say, right? What can Triple H really say? But I don't know, just to be different, but I feel like also they have been kind of pushing him to go. It's more so also promoting NXT and on USA Network on Wednesdays, and of course also Survivor Series. But now the fans are familiar enough with Adam Cole on the A and B brand shows, as the WWE likes to call it. So I think this might be a way to kind of push Adam Cole to go to Raw or SmackDown to give them more wrestlers. But it could happen because we've seen it happen. And for some reason, I feel like every War Games, there's been a wrestler that's moved up.
Okay.
Don't quote me on it, but...
Sorry, I just got back from the bathroom. I had to vomit real quick. You said something about Matt Riddle. Did you have a pick? I'm just playing, man. I heard the whole thing. I just, yeah. I mean, I applaud you for the risky pick there.
It's wrong,
but it won't be on the pre-show.
It
won't be on the pre-show. It won't be on the pre-show though.
It won't.
Because if it's on the pre-show, it's ruined. It looks stupid. Okay, so it has to be on Survivor Series, and it has to lead to something where Bebe loses, but also starts up something on that night for the next day on Raw.
I think the breakdown to Undisputed Era has to become internal or somebody taking over the group. But I commend you. Good job.
Yes. Good day, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
More importantly, you went outside the box, so that was cool.
I try. The box gets kind of lonely. I gotta, think outside of it every so often.
Well, and then we will move on to, in no particular order, other than the order that it's listed on this here website I am looking at, the WWE Championship match, Brock Lesnar versus Rey Mysterio in a quote-unquote no-holds-barred match.
You first? I think Justin's first on this one, isn't he?
Yeah, I think it would be Justin first this thing.
What a boring match. That was me snoring, by the way, if I don't know if it caught off.
I couldn't figure that out.
I don't know. Is his son ready to start wrestling now or no?
I don't think he's ready yet, no.
I don't know what
he's
they're
been
doing
training,
here.
but I just don't think he's ready.
I don't know.
I don't know. Like, Rey Mysterio's already done this David versus Goliath thing already, and it's not going to happen at Survivor Series where he's going to win. He's going to be beating Brock Lesnar in the sense of with pipes and weapons and so on, but he's not getting the pin. Not happening. Dare I say Cain Velasquez might randomly show up? I guess that's not dare I say. That sounds like it might be very plausible.
And it all depends on whether he's had the knee surgery yet or not.
Oh, that's valid. Well, not doing anything crazy, but essentially to build it up for... Because they might only fight Royal Rumble, right? I heard Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, but apparently they have big things for Roman at Romania for the title, which again is all rumors, and we probably shouldn't speculate that much because things could change in a dime. But yeah, Brock Lesnar winning for sure. It's just they're not gonna completely squash Rey because someone's gonna interfere. Although Brock has squashed so many people, doesn't really matter the outcome. Brock is still gonna be winning because there's no way Brock is losing to Rey Mysterio.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and go and say that I'm going to probably be the dark horse predictor and say I think Rey Mysterio actually does win.
And how will he do that, good sir?
Well, no holds barred match. That's ultimately what it comes down to. That opens up the ability for him to win through sneakier means rather than necessarily overpowering. Now, the story they've told over time always has been that the small, fast, agile wrestlers are harder for Brock Lesnar than the big monster ones, He struggled against Finn Balor. He struggled against Daniel Bryan.
Seth.
Struggled to get a bit against Seth. But
well,
Braun
he was
Strowman
the Beast Slayer.
comes along, and it's 5 F5s and done, And adding in the ability for Rey Mysterio to use pipes and all of that stuff, I can see Rey Mysterio winning. I also base this off of the rumor mill that suggests that Brock Lesnar's contract with WWE is for a lot less appearances than previously thought, and that the reason they moved him to Raw was so that they could kind of write him out for a while. And a great way to write him out for a while would be to have him lose in a spectacular fashion with a potential at least temporary career-ending injury of some sort. And
and also it allows it to not be a clean loss, which is important with a monster like him.
Exactly. And so he can go off and be quote-unquote injured for a while, and Rey Mysterio can be a champion and basically be Kofi Kingston on Raw, and everyone loves him. And then Brock can come back and destroy him, and then set up once Cain Velasquez is back from his surgery for a Cain Velasquez match down the road. But that's my thoughts. I don't know if it's going to be a popular.
That almost sounded FBI-ish right there.
Yeah, it might be fantasy booking, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. What you got, man?
You're not the only one on that tote. I actually also believe that. I at some point, somebody other than Seth Rollins has to be able to beat Brock. And why not 3 people are able to beat Brock? Or 5 or 7 or hell, Vince is racist. Let's just get the whole Mysterio family and have him say that they all live in one house or whatever, so that Vince can have his racism stuff show through in his writing. I don't care how it happens. In a no holds barred match, you have all the people you want, and Brock doesn't have friends. He has one advocate and no friends, and Ray has lots of friends. I think Brock loses at the hands of lots of people, lots of pipes, lots of fake stuff. I think that Ray loses the title rather quickly, but it would be Ray's second run with the WWE Championship, and
only his second run.
Yeah.
Damn.
And the first one was 24 hours. Is that right? On WWE's championship, I think he had the big gold for a while.
Yeah.
He had one of them for a while, but one of them he only had for the 24 hours.
Let's see what the interval.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if they do that, like what you are saying, that it's gonna be a 24-hour thing. Like I feel like Brock then will just come out the next day and just beat him.
No, I think Brock has. I agree with Smarks. I think that Brock gets a kayfabe injury, which allows for a pop at Royal Rumble or at Elimination Chamber, or at WrestleMania, or a random Monday night between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. You know, if you're right about Roman getting a push at WrestleMania, then Roman can win the Royal Rumble for the 17th year in a row, or however many times he's done it. It wouldn't be a year in a row, but for the 17th time, or I think this would be his fourth win of the Royal Rumble. And you can have Brock come out on Monday night knowing full well that Roman's going to be challenging The Fiend or whomever is over there, the champion. So
to do a quick fact check, you are both right and wrong on Rey Mysterio. He never was WCW champion, but he did hold the big gold belt twice as WWE World Heavyweight Champion.
Okay, yep.
And then he had that twice, and then he had the WWE Championship one time. So you were right that he's only been WWE champion once.
Oh, stop!
And,
so
was, and that was the short win, right? That was the short reign. Lost it to the Big Show.
It doesn't say in that listing, so I'm gonna have to go back and look. But
one of his major championship reigns in WWE had a 24-hour reign.
Lost it to the Big Show.
And Big Show beat him the next night.
Oh, Jesus.
I believe it was
Big Show. That's sad.
So,
anyways, too much reading. But so, yes, he did hold the big gold belt, but you were wrong. It was not in WCW. So
I didn't say in WCW. I said big gold belt. That's all I said.
It was kind of implied, though.
Yeah, you
big gold belt was in WWE for years.
Yeah, you kind of did.
You kind of get to listen to the podcast tomorrow, and you can tell yourself. And then when you sit on your big gold belt on your thumb, and it gets rammed up, you know where, you can hear that you're wrong.
You're getting a little defended.
Well, yeah, because I never said that.
Okay. Anyway,
I said WCW. He was never the champion in WCW. He did have a championship match in WCW against Kevin Nash, but it was a squash because Kevin Nash said it had to be.
Anyways, so we got two people saying Ray and one saying Brock.
You guys are messed up.
Ray, come on. We will move on to the Universal Championship match. The Fiend, Bray Wyatt versus Daniel Bryan. And I'll go ahead and go first and say if they have Bray Wyatt lose in his first major defense, they're dumb. So it's got to be the Fiend.
Yeah, I think this is going to be unanimous. Fiend.
But I mean, you did mention that they would be dumb, and WWE has done some pretty dumb stuff. So I thought you were gonna say, yeah, you know what, Daniel Bryan's gonna win it. Yeah.
No, this is Fiend.
No, for sure, but it can't. Yeah, they can't mess it up this badly. It has
two
to
times.
Be.
They totally can, but
well, I mean, they can.
We're gonna play hopeful people and say they're not going to.
Side note: will it be under blue lights?
No,
Ooh,
it'd be
interesting.
definitely red lights. No, not interesting. Stop it. I'm still traumatized by the red. I already hate red lights because of this bull banana stuff. Why? Damn it! I really don't want to watch this match now. And it's just like a regular match, right? It's not no DQ or anything.
They haven't announced any sort of stipulation to it, so as far as I know, it's just a regular match. Yeah.
That I actually predict that one being kind of a bit of a fast match. That will help with some of the time.
That's what I'm thinking too. Yeah, I'm thinking it's gonna be a mandible claw situation in the next 5 minutes kind of thing.
Which allows us to have Daniel Bryan develop more with whatever this character he's got.
But they could kind of bury Daniel. Like, the fans are still gonna love him, and he can still come back from doing something else. Like, it's not like I feel like Daniel Bryan's not gonna get a title push for a while. Anyways, with at least the Fiend being on SmackDown as champion.
Okay. So we all agree there. Moving on. Next match. Brand Supremacy triple threat title match of the women's champions. Becky Lynch versus Bayley versus Shayna Baszler.
Is this me?
Yeah, sure.
I didn't remember if it was me or Justin first here.
It doesn't matter. It's okay.
It doesn't matter. Really doesn't.
It doesn't matter.
Oh. Yeah,
I don't know who's going to win it, but I can tell you Bayley is there to take the fall. So Bayley's going to lose it. I can tell you that. And I'm going to go. They're not having Lynch or Baszler take the fall. I'm going to go Baszler gets the win and Lynch gets taken out by whatever storyline they're developing for next. That's what I'm going to go with. And I don't know how. I don't know who's getting. I mean, Baszler gets the win and Bayley takes the fall.
You know, I think I'll go next, and I pretty much agree with you. Like we said, there's Bayley's there to take the fall. They can't have Becky Lynch take the pin right now. She's way too hot for it. And so I think, to be perfectly honest, I think a lot of this they're going to use NXT as a way to kind of get out of jail. And this is maybe a little bit of a spoiler towards predictions later. Get out of jail between having a winner between Fox and Raw. You know, SmackDown. And so I think this is going to be one where NXT picks up a W in Baszler.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just don't see. But yeah, so Bayley definitely taking the fall no matter what. I knew that after their promo on Raw when they're like, "Oh, I'll be watching you, but I know Bayley's there." You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, so you guys don't give two F's about Bayley being there. You just kind of mention her so everyone else knows that she's in the match. Poor girl, man. She cuts her hair. She has the new attire. And no one still gives any two F's about it. But Shayna Baszler does make sense. You got to promote NXT. But Becky, I feel like, is going to dominate the majority of the match.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. And that actually makes a lot of sense to have Becky go over in her loss without taking the fall.
Yeah.
Now, in a total side note, I saw it's a conspiracy theory that's going around the internet, but it makes it's one of those that makes too much sense. Have you noticed that since her heel turn, Bayley doesn't wear the belt around her waist at all?
No, stop it. That wasn't a thing.
She comes out.
I already know where you're going with this.
I know you know where I'm going, and you might not agree with it or not, but it's still worth at least talking about, because she used to wear the belt around her waist, and she stopped when she got new ring gear after her heel turn. And
she's not pregnant and taking bumps.
Nope, she's not pregnant. Jesus, has nothing to do with that.
Really?
Nothing to do with that. It's simply to do with this.
I haven't heard this rumor. Go on.
So she comes out carrying it on her shoulder now instead of around her waist.
Okay.
And the conspiracy theory is, and all good conspiracy theories have that, well, it makes a lot of sense to it. So I'm not necessarily saying it's true, but it makes a lot of sense. If you look at her new ring gear, her name is spelled out, split into two. So it has B-A-Y and then L-E-Y. right? And if she wears the belt out around her waist, that puts a big giant W on her waist. Well, if you look up at the top, she has B-A-Y with the A in the middle, and then L-E-Y with the E in the middle, and then a W right underneath it. And so the conspiracy theory is she was told not to do it because it spells A-E-W.
And to be fair, and look, it's as stupid as the conspiracy theory with the whole Greta Thunberg thing happening, okay? With the picture from like 1895, and she's a time traveler. You guys probably don't know what I'm talking about, but it's a meme everywhere. This meme is the same exact thing. Okay, because even in the meme that it showed this, where it showed, hey, it spells AEW, and it was just like, oh guys, I just made this up just to F with you. It makes sense, but it's too much. I don't know. It's not a thing.
I'm not necessarily saying I believe it, but at the same point, part of why it makes so much sense is this is totally something that WWE would do. It is 100% something that someone backstage at WWE would look at and say, we can't have that because it looks like AEW.
I am curious, really curious. How much time are we going to waste on this stupid concept?
I was thinking about 10 more minutes.
Okay. I'm going to go take a nap.
We will go ahead and move on. That is the second in a row where we all agreed. So I have a feeling, though, things will change here because we have the next brand supremacy triple threat match amongst the title holders with U.S. champion versus Intercontinental champion versus North American champion. AJ Styles versus Nakamura versus Roderick Strong. And we'll start with Justin.
So I'm going. First of all, this is going to be a phenomenal match. If Nakamura is allowed to be Shinsuke Nakamura again and actually start decently wrestling and not cheating with Sami Zayn, this match could potentially be the match of the night if all three wrestlers are able to do what they want. If this match was on War Games, it'd be pretty awesome because I feel like NXT would have more leeway for them to really create a great match. But given the fact that Nakamura is a heel, nothing's gonna happen there. AJ Styles doesn't necessarily need to pick up the win. Promote AEW again. We're giving it to Roderick Strong, so Undisputed Era can get some W's along with their W that they got with Adam Cole Bay earlier on in the Survivor Series card, depending. So they're promoting. Who does he beat? If it's still gonna be heel Nakamura, so they're definitely Nakamura's taking the pin. I don't see AJ Styles necessarily taking the pin, unless there's a whole Humberto thing happening again. Did they finish with that feud with Humberto and AJ?
I don't think it's finished, but I don't think he's going to interfere. So
I don't think it'll be part of this, yeah.
But I feel like Humberto has to be there for something. He's not even in a match, right?
As far as I know, no.
So I feel like he'll have to do something. But I'm saying Roderick beats Nakamura, and Roderick looks really strong in the matchup. Because, it's going to be a AEW promote fest for sure, just to promote that the AEW champion, what is it, the Intercontinental champion? What is it called in
NXT?
North American Championship holds that much more power towards the Intercontinental Championship and the United States Championship, and AEW takes the win here. Let's go with Roderick Strong taking it.
Okay. So Mr. DA,
North
what
American
do you got?
Championship. Okay. I think Strong's there to take the fall. I mean, you got two big names there. I think AJ can suffer a loss here, which means Raw won't win the brand supremacy 5-way, because Raw will have been neutral in both of the other two. I'm going to say that AJ takes the loss but not the pin, and I'm going to give it to Shinsuke. I'm going to give you the exact opposite of what you just gave me, unfortunately. Okay. And I just think it's so that Shinsuke can get a little bit of a push, and I think Strong's there to take the fall. That's what I believe.
Okay, this is another one of those that I'm not as certain on myself. But I think like I said, I think they're setting up for NXT to come out looking probably the best out of it. So I think I'm gonna go with Strong as the winner. But like I said, this is one I'm not as 100% on. But if Strong is the winner, I think it's Mr. Styles today. And I think it's because the one thing that they set up when AJ Styles and the OC invaded NXT was them attacking the Undisputed Era before they came out. And their whole we're better than NXT because we didn't have to come here, we went straight to the main roster,
valid point,
sort of a thing. And so I think this is where the Undisputed Era gets a little bit of payback on the OC. But like I say, this is probably one of the ones that I am the least confident in. And so and with all of these triple threats, that there's a whole nother ball in play that makes it a little bit harder to be confident in your picks. But that's where I'm gonna go. So now we are going to go to the third triple threat brand supremacy tag team title match featuring the Viking Raiders, who are the Raw Tag Champions, versus the New Day, who are the SmackDown Tag Champions, versus the Undisputed Era, which is Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, the NXT Tag Champions. And I think it is my turn to go first, so I will throw a dart at the wall and say that this is one that NXT does not win. I think this is a good chance to put the Viking Raiders over, and so have them come out looking really strong and dominant. New Day can take a loss without really losing. I mean, the simple fact is the fans will follow New Day to the end of the earth right now. So I think Viking Raiders. I think probably pinning New Day. I wouldn't be surprised, especially if my Roderick Strong prediction is accurate, if the rest of the OC doesn't come out and prove to be at least eliminating the Undisputed Era from the match, so that it becomes basically a regular tag match with the New Day versus the Viking Raiders.
Okay.
Pretty smart. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. I think those two would have definitely a deep connection there. That makes complete sense.
So who you got?
Are you talking to the witness, or are you talking to your co-officer over there?
Whoever wants to go, man.
It's late.
Right, so
let's roll.
I'll step it up. So I completely agree with you. This is a perfect time to get the Viking Raiders to do it. Simply to put them over. New Day definitely doesn't need it. And if it all depends on which match is first in terms of the Supreme Intercontinental Championship crazy match. And that all depends on what happens there. If Undisputed Era wins in that match, then Undisputed Era is definitely losing in this match. It's either way, it's going to continue the feud between the OC and Undisputed Era. That's definitely going down no matter what. But I agree, Viking Raiders taking it, and voila.
Boom. DFA.
Yeah, I did not expect, when you mentioned this, I didn't expect to have a three-way agreement. This is solely to get Raw win on my card, Viking Raiders. I think that they can have the win over either of the other two teams. I think because Undisputed Era is Undisputed Era, I don't think that Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish need a win here. I do know that Raw needs a win on the show. If they do a clean sweep, that'd be horrible. And I think New Day has plenty of potency. So I liked your logic, and so I'm gonna just copy Casey. Or I'm sorry, I'm just going to copy Smarks here. And, yeah, that's where I'm going.
We're a bunch of copycats.
I mean, that's going to be probably the worst match on the card.
Yeah,
for sure. No doubt.
It'll be entertaining, but it'll be the worst match on the card.
So then we will move on to the first of the two Survivor Series matches, but probably not actually the first one. It's just the first one on this page because it is the men's one, which I totally expect to be the main event, or at least the last of the Survivor Series.
Yeah.
And they'll probably put the women's Survivor Series match early in this night and then the men's one later. But on this here page, it's first. So I will do the men's Survivor Series match. We've got Team Raw, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, and Ricochet versus Team SmackDown, Roman Reigns, Mustafa Ali, Braun Strowman, King Corbin, and Shorty G versus Team NXT, which this here page says TBA. And as far as I know, I don't think they even announced it last night. So we still don't know who Team NXT is officially going to be.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and answer so I can sneak in early. This is SmackDown. This is where Vince has sold Fox on the fact that we have a better top to bottom roster for you guys, Fox. This will be SmackDown, and it'll be a Braun domination, unfortunately. But I think that's where this is going, is SmackDown, Braun and Roman, and maybe even Corbin gets a pin out of this. Shorty G's there to take the one SmackDown pin. I think 4 of them are left, and this is a SmackDown win. The only way there isn't 4 of them left is if 4 of them lose right away and Roman goes through 10 other dudes, because, it's Roman.
Yeah.
Right.
It's his yard, man.
Yeah. So,
we will go to Justin next.
Yeah, you know what? That makes complete sense. They're also not gonna. I really like what they're doing with the whole, Corbin Roman thing. They've just put more emphasis in SmackDown doing more for the Survivor Series matchup that they're going to have. Find it completely weird. They don't have NXT's team announced at all. So I feel like it's just going to be just random NXT superstars in the match. So they're just not going to win. They're not going to take it. They're building SmackDown to be the A brand now. So I feel like SmackDown has to take it because that's what Vinnie Mac would want. And Raw's going to look really, really, I think, in the match, because I feel like they're promoting it in the sense where it's SmackDown's the A brand, NXT is the B brand, and Raw, ladies and gentlemen, after 30 years, is the C brand. But yeah, SmackDown's taking it.
Well, this is going to be where we have another agreement. I think SmackDown wins this one.
I thought your turn was going to pop up here.
Oh, my turn is going to pop up. It is the reason that Raw does not win.
Okay.
And so to let Justin in, since he wasn't on
private conversation
before, my prediction is that Kevin Owens is going to turn on Team Raw and lead Team Raw to losing. He is going to side with Team NXT. And I think it's going to be the way to get Kevin Owens down to NXT again. That's been rumored for a long time. Mm-hmm. And it can start him into a feud with the Undisputed Era, since if you go back to Raw, the Undisputed Era attacked Kevin Owens against Triple H's wishes. So I think he's going to go back.
I felt like that was still planned, though. Like, Triple H said he wasn't going to get attacked, but he also said the same thing about Seth Rollins.
You say that, but if you watch in the ring, as they start attacking Kevin Owens, he looks at them, and he's literally, you can read him say, "What are you doing?" And then Adam Cole Bebe says something back to him about, we didn't exactly hear what it was, but it was something along the lines of, "We run this show," or whatever, "we're taking them out." And so they very clearly, in my mind at least, set up that the Undisputed Era was going off script with that attack, that they weren't supposed to attack at that time. and that they chose to. And this leads to Kevin Owens wanting to come down to NXT to get his revenge. And also that, let's be honest, Triple H made a lot of good points in that particular promo. And Kevin Owens probably took him to heart. So Kevin Owens turns on Team Raw, which is what costs Team Raw the thing. But I think SmackDown is the one who ends up coming out of it as the victor. But it just leads to Kevin Owens being down on on NXT in the end, even though they lose. So I think we agree there.
That has to be at the end of the match, though, after everything is done, I feel. Because if you do that before to make Team Raw lose, it kind of makes Kevin Owens' turn pointless. Even though, especially if NXT's team lose and SmackDown still wins.
The turn can be really as simple as Kevin Owens eliminating himself and walking away. You know what I mean?
Okay.
He doesn't necessarily have to help Team NXT, but he can hurt Team Raw by saying, I'm not part of you.
Okay, and then slowly build up him leaving Raw. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Fair enough.
And then the final of the predictions, although, like I said, most likely it happens within the first couple matches on the main show, the Women's Survivor Series elimination match. Once again, the players are Team Raw, Charlotte Flair, Natalya, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Sarah Logan, for some reason, versus Team SmackDown of Sasha Banks, Carmella, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Nikki Cross, versus Team NXT that also says DBA on this here page. So, question mark?
Yeah, what is going on with this?
Well, they have a pay-per-view the night before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe they're just hedging their bets in case of injuries or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I'm sure they have a plan, though, right? Like,
well, the storyline, I think, is that Triple H says, I'm not going to tell you who my members are until the last possible second because I don't want you guys to be able to game plan or whatever. But I think, in reality, I think they're probably hedging their bets a bit, making sure that people don't get injured in the War Games match. Because, let's be honest, at least one or two of the members of Team NXT for both the men and the women are probably people who are in the women's or men's War Games matches the night before. And they just want to make sure. Yeah, if not more. If not almost the entire team.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but I anticipate that we're going to see a fair amount of that. And since I went last time, I will go ahead and go first on this one and say I think this is where NXT picks up the barely squeaking out a total victory on the night and somehow or another wins. Because, quite frankly, I think the NXT women's division is a little bit more well developed top to bottom, at least, than the Raw and SmackDown women's division. Like, don't get me wrong, Raw and SmackDown have some bigger stars overall, but they also have Sarah Logan, Dana Brooke, and Lacey Evans, that they have to deal with. Whereas I think NXT will be able to field a 5-person roster that are all top tier in NXT. So that's where I'm going.
Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah. So in that sense, NXT has to take it. I feel it's predominantly going to be the majority of matches NXT is going to win. Since SmackDown is going to get like those 3 triple threat matches, it's going to be 1 Raw, 1 SmackDown, 1 NXT. So it kind of gets like a fair, even Steven kind of thing. And then we're going to get, I feel like NXT might take over the majority of, like, they might win like 4 matches on Survivor Series. But women's match, yeah, it's going to have to go to NXT, but it's going to be tight because you can't make any of these women look too bad either. But it's going to be like a struggle amongst everyone that's in the match. I also do feel like it might be a quick match. It's definitely not going to be the main event. NXT women are taking it in a tight match, pinning Nikki Cross is where now? I always get confused.
She's on SmackDown.
She's SmackDown. Yeah.
SmackDown. So pinning SmackDown. Raw looks better here. They're going to try to even out everyone's, but NXT's going to take the majority of the wins. SmackDown's going to be second. Raw will be third. But yeah, NXT's taking it by pinning Nikki Cross because I feel like they're not doing anything with her at the moment.
Okay, and last but not least, DA Fabe, what you got?
Well, I had NXT have their strong showing earlier in the night. I think they showed up in every single match, but I don't think they're winning this one. SmackDown, again, I truly believe this is where Vince sold SmackDown is top to bottom, where you guys are going to have the stronger roster. It shows on Raw's roster. Top in this women's match, you've got the top person in this women's match is Charlotte. Unless Baszler somehow is in it after she's already been in a match. So the top woman in this match is Charlotte. She's over on Raw, but she got, she's got the tag team champs with her and everything, but that's not where this is going. I think this is going to build the next feud for the SmackDown Women's title. Maybe not the next one or one down the line that we have been freaking begging for several years. I want Sasha Bailey. I want that match. I want it for the title. And I want it before Elimination Chamber, so it can happen at Royal Rumble for all I care. It can happen at TLC, but this sets up the ability for Sasha to say, "Listen, I led my team. Why'd you have to be the one who lost? You lost to the lesser brand, even." And I think this sets up to again establish SmackDown as that premium show. And it actually builds a feud that is absolutely 100% non-existent because there is not a title feud for Bayley right now after this is done.
Cool enough. Good enough. Okay. So just looking down the list here, that means that both Justin and I predict that NXT is going to come out of this with 3 wins of the cross-competition ones, making them the overall winners of the brand supremacy thing. And DA Fabe has SmackDown winning 2, and then Raw and SmackDown winning 3, and then Raw and NXT splitting the other one. So that'll be interesting. I was trying to think of what we could do for a potential tiebreaker, and I couldn't really think of one. So we should just hope there is no tie.
Well, with 3, there probably shouldn't be. So.
There likely should not be. But with that being said, this has been a 2-hour podcast, and it is late, so we will probably wrap this up as of now. I always kind of ramble through at the end about sharing, and subscribing, but it is really important to us that you do those things, that you like our podcast on whatever platform you use, you subscribe to it, you share it with your friends on your social media, your Twitter machines, and your Facebooks and whatever's.
Instagrams.
Your Instagrams. And let other people know about the wrestling booking unit, and get some more people listening to this. We also send people over to Real Talk Radio. Go listen to Justin's podcast. He talks about all sorts of stuff, not just wrestling.
All sorts. Not just wrestling, movies, music, entertainment, what's kind of going on. No politics, because politics is never fun. But everything else, anything, we call ourselves a spark of everything entertainment. So that's what we try to do. Real Talk Radio 8, or at my personal one at JLB420. Thank you for sticking to us with this long podcast. Sorry about the surprise visit, but Much appreciated for having me on again, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining us, man.
Yes, thanks again, Justin. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Raw and Order WBU. You can always find DA Fabe at Twitter at
DA Vincent K. Fabe.
Awesome. And then you can follow us on Facebook. Just search for Raw and Order WBU. We got a page there as well. Like and share and subscribe that. As well as on YouTube, where we post video versions of these that are basically exactly the same as the audio version, except there's some little special effects on the screen.
Swirlies.
Swirlies and stuff.
Hey, that's how Star Wars got their going. So, hey, you never know. We are the Star Wars of podcasts, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Or maybe the 70s Battlestar Galactica of podcasts.
I'll accept that.
But otherwise, we talk about this, and I just always like to point out to people that making a podcast is a lot of work, and it takes some specialized equipment to make it sound good. And so, liking, sharing, and subscribing is one way to help us. And another way is to go on anchor.fm/Raw and Order WBU and click that support button there and pledge to give us as little as $1 a month. Every dollar helps us prioritize this and make this sound better and get out to your ear holes faster. So it definitely helps. In fact, supporting that way helps probably more than our sponsorships help at the moment. So it's a great way to keep things going. If you like our podcast and want us to keep doing it, that's a great way to do it there. But otherwise, we will wrap this up for this edition of the Wrestling Booking Unit, and we will see you next time. Really quickly, programming note, we are probably going to be changing our recording times for future episodes and start recording this on Sundays to be released on Mondays for a lot of reasons, but it just is easier on our schedules. So we're going to probably start this Sunday with a Survivor Series reaction show immediately recorded following Survivor Series on Sunday. So expect to get another podcast on Monday. Surprise!
Hey, kind of like what I did today. See? We continue it on.
But otherwise, we will close the books on this particular podcast. Thanks for listening. Case is closed.